Two thin coats. 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 Two thin coats.
Welcome to TableTopReady. My name's Michael, and in this video I'm going to be painting this old Warhammer Fantasy Orc boss using the new Two Thin Coats paints. Transatlantic Games were kind enough to send me the first wave of the Two Thin Coats paint range to try out and see what I think. I was first sent a sample of the paints to try, and you can go and watch that video as well to see my initial thoughts on the paints. If you're new to the channel, I make my own painting tutorials that are made for anyone wanting to start painting miniatures or even just looking to get better. I would love for you to go check out some of my tutorials and let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll always try and respond to everyone. For this video I'm going to show you what you get in the current range and then put them to the test painting this Warhammer Fantasy Orc Warboss. If you're interested to know what this miniature is, his name is Gorbad Ironclaw, and he was once a unique character for the Orcs and Goblins army. Sadly he's no longer available, but I've been waiting for a good excuse to paint him, and this seemed like a good a time as any. There are lots of details, so I reckon I'll be able to use most of the colours on this one miniature, including techniques such as layering, using washes, and some dry brushing to really put this range of paints to the test. This isn't going to be a detailed tutorial on how to paint Gorbad, rather it's just going to be an overview on painting a miniature using these new paints and seeing what they're like. So let's get started and see what's in the range. There are currently 60 paints available, and this is made up of a variety of colours, each with what is known as a triad, made up of a shadow, mid-tone and highlight. Silver and gold also both have a shadow, mid-tone and highlight as well, and 6 washes. So the way to use these paints would be to start with painting an area starting with a shadow. You would then paint the mid-tone colour on the raised detail, leaving the shadow still visible in the recessed detail. Finally, highlight can be painted on the edges and used to emphasise certain details, making them easier to see. A wash is used to create definition in the same way, but instead of building up the brightness through many layers, you can apply this wash and it will create those shadows in any recesses and shallow areas once it's dried. Washes work really well for more organic areas like flesh. They can also help to give metals a more oily and grimy look. As well as all the paints that are currently available now, Wave 2 should be with us later this year, and if you want to know more, I'll put some links in the description. I've built my Orc Warboss in sub-assemblies to make painting a lot easier, and I've also undercoated this miniature with Wraithbone spray because I can get a nice vibrant colour very easily. I've got tutorials on both building miniatures and undercoating them if you need some help with it. There's a good selection of colours to choose from, and I'm able to get a lot of variation on the different details on this Orc Warboss, rather than having to paint details the same due to lack of choice. There's especially a good amount of earthy colours, so you can paint your skulls, any tusks and horns, and also any wooden details you may have. There are colours to paint flesh, along with the wash which you can use to create more tones, which I've done here on the snout. I applied it after the mid-tone, and then reapplied the mid-tone, and then finished with the highlight. The set includes silver and gold which go down really well, and you can use all these colours just as they are. You get a good selection of washes, but I did notice they separate very easily whilst using them. It's not a problem, just make sure to give them a shake, and make sure they're well mixed before applying, and all the washes dry to the same matte finish. All the colours are great for dry brushing, but you will get better results if you have a damp brush first, as I found the paints do dry very quickly. The way the range has been organised into the triads is a great idea, especially if you're quite new to painting. All you do is decide what colour you want an area and use the shadow, mid-tone and highlights the way they're intended, and you can easily get a great looking miniature. Obviously you don't need to stick to that formula if you don't want to, you can use the paints however you want. It's just good that it's there just in case you need additional help deciding what colours to use. I use the reds to paint the armour, starting with the mid-tone and using the shadow to recess shade the armour before highlighting. I was really impressed with how well the yellows went down as well. All that was needed was a couple of thin coats and they covered really well and were very vibrant with saturated colour, which you want from yellow. Some of the colours I didn't get a chance to use are these blues, purples and oranges, but I imagine they'll be very similar to the other colours. All of the paints are quite thick and do need a lot of thinning down if you want to make them less opaque for layering and blending. And because these paints have very strong pigments, they can dry quite chalky. Overall the range is very accessible, which means you know whatever paints you're going to use, they're going to get the job done. I really enjoyed painting this Orc Warboss, and the two thin coats paints are really easy to use. And Wave 1 should now be available in your local hobby shops. All you need to do is go ahead and ask them about it. And Wave 2 should be with us later this year if it isn't already. It adds an additional 60 new paints to the range, including new triads, metallics, washes and even some new glazes. And with that said, let's now see how this Warboss turned out. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you can see how you can use the two thin coats paints to paint your own miniatures. Make sure to check out the latest news and updates using the link in the description. As well, if you enjoyed this video then give it a like and let me know in the comments below, and if you've used these paints before and what you think of them. Make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on future content, and I'll see you in the next video.